My name is Monica Gould, and I'm an attorney with Bowman & Brook in Minneapolis.
I'm Dave Corbett. I graduated in 2008.
I'm Jake Grassel. I'm an attorney at House & Thompson. I was a class of 2009 graduate.
My name is Erin Lord. I graduated in 2009.
My name is Adam Brown. I am a graduate of University of St. Thomas School of Law from 2006.
My name is Aaron Cano, and I am 1 year out of law school.
I'm Liz Millay, and I'm currently a 3L.
My name is Jerry, and I'm a 3L.
Phil Steger. I'm expected to graduate in 2013.
My name is Robin Brown. I am a 3L, and I will be graduating in just about 3 or 4 weeks.
My clerkship was predominantly research and writing. Most clerks, that is the basis for what you do and for what you can provide the firm. I also did a number of transactional work and document review, but primarily I focused a lot on research and writing.
My clerkship was very research and writing heavy. I would say 65% to 70% of the time I spent as a law clerk was spent either performing legal research or summarizing that research in some sort of brief or legal memorandum for a partner.
Research was the most important thing I did in any law job I've done so far. When I was a summer associate, the majority of my day, every day, was spent researching. If I wasn't researching, I was writing about what I had researched. And my research was essentially what helped me get the job, because what summer associates are often asked to do is research really difficult questions that no one else has had the time to research, or they've tried to research it, but they haven't gotten an answer. So that is the job of a summer associate.
Well, when I summered at Fager Baker Daniels, research and writing was pretty much everything that I did, except for other observation opportunities on the side. But I would say about 80% of my time was consumed with projects that required substantial research and then being able to condense that research in a quality writing product.
The clerkship in law school was very research intensive. Most of my work involved some kind of legal memo or maybe a very basic client letter.
I was working at the large firm in downtown Minneapolis as a volunteer. I had a responsibility over some of the asylum cases and victims of crime who were applying for visas. So my research there was very immigration focused.
With Central Minnesota Legal Services, I would say it's probably close to 60% of the work that I do is paper-oriented, whether it's drafting pleadings. Sometimes it's not that, it's not reinventing the wheel. It's a lot of using forms and working from that. And then of that 60%, maybe 20–25% is actual research or searching out new law that the attorneys don't have in their minds or aren't aware of.
I used so many more research tools than I thought I would. You know, at the law firm, we were asked not to use research methods that would cost money, and so I used a lot of books. And I was really thankful that I had learned about books and how to research in them, you know, during my 1L research class. And so what I often did is I would start with a treatise or you know, an encyclopedia, something like that, where it was very general, and then I would go into other books from there. Also, another part of research that I did a lot is I just used Google.
Our firm predominantly uses Westlaw on a Minnesota-only program, but I also would research using lots of secondary sources. When I'm stumped or starting a new project, go into using a lot of law reviews to get me started, perhaps other secondary sources, Google, but predominantly Westlaw. There's also, as a member of the State Bar, we get a free membership in Fastcase. Fastcase essentially gives you a 50 states worth of a database of legal research.
In addition to Westlaw research, which can be costly depending on what your firm or your company's plan includes, I've really learned to utilize free resources as well. I've called to the law school libraries in this area a number of times to ask general questions before I get started on a research project. I have used the reference attorneys at Westlaw to kind of help me start down the road when I have no idea where to begin with a particular legal question. Cost is always a consideration. Thankfully, my firm has a plan where if you're going to go outside the bounds of what the plan includes, you have to click yes about 500 times to confirm that you know that you're incurring additional charges. So in terms of online research, that was less of a concern, but I really did try to train myself to begin with a Google search or talk to a research librarian or a research attorney to kind of get my feet in place and a foundation for my research before I logged on to Westlaw and before that clock started ticking.
Cost is definitely a consideration that many clients take into consideration when deciding what type of research they want you to do, how much they're willing to pay for you to do. So one of the key things with legal research is to be able to do it efficiently and effectively and not spin your wheels spending hours and hours trying to track down some rare issue, but be able to do it effectively and do it quickly.
Cost is definitely a consideration. Our firm has a set plan, so now I can essentially research any case or Minnesota practice series that is in Minnesota. But if I need to go out for cases that are in other states or other states' law, especially if it's an issue of first impression, I definitely have to keep costs in consideration because that, when you go outside your plan, gets very expensive.
Research is really an essential part of getting the job offer. Not only does being a good researcher open up job opportunities when you're actually interviewing, because one thing that firms look at is how well you did on your appellate brief or your other lawyering skills grades. They really look at your writing. Obviously, being a great researcher makes you a better writer. But then, when I was being judged at the end of the summer at my law firm, when they were deciding whether or not they wanted to give me an offer, you know, really what they were going on was the quality of my research and the quality of my writing. And so research, without being a good researcher, I would not have gotten the job offer.
We look at someone's research skills and we look at their writing skills when hiring. And that is one of the questions that we always ask during an interview. Describe to me what your legal research skills are like and if somebody feels competent in doing legal research. Because especially in litigation, because that's what I'm familiar with, we use legal research all the time. And that's something that we want our young associates to be able to do at the firm as well. Do quality legal research and do it effectively and efficiently so that the costs aren't overwhelming to the client and we can pass that along to the court in a brief if we need to.
In talking with the partners at my firm and for myself as well, when I'm interviewing someone or asking questions about their research or legal writing experience, we're definitely looking for people who are well-rounded researchers. We want people who are experienced in not only going onto Westlaw and running a quick search, but also who feel comfortable calling a librarian or calling a reference attorney. Someone who's not afraid to drive over to the law library and pull out a dusty old treatise that someone may not have looked at for a number of years. Sometimes it's not as simple as running a quick Google search. It really needs to be someone who's willing to go the extra mile and to look into all of those different sources to find the answer to the legal question.
As far as research and writing skills in a law clerk, it is an absolute must that they're able to get to the base of the problem. That we don't have expectations that they're going to be able to take a large problem, grasp it, and give us the absolute answer at the end of the day. We understand that they're just getting started. I kind of link it to like the NFL. Attorneys would be in the NFL. We expect our clerks to be great college athlete standouts. It's kind of a way to do it. But they have to be good. They definitely have to know how to research. They have to be able to get to the actual brunt of the problem and get us on a good start so that we can supplement that research. Writing has to be clear, has to be efficient, and has to apply the actual facts to the legal research in a way that we can build on it rather than redo it.
I think each law student needs to become familiar with Westlaw, and I think that each law student needs to be efficient and effective at using Westlaw. Westlaw has a lot of neat tools that you can use to make your research more effective. So I think what the partners are looking for at a law firm and the senior associates are looking for in a law firm is someone who's proficient in Westlaw, so as not to drive up costs too much for the client. And I also think that the firms are looking for people who do legal research in creative ways in order to find the most cost-effective way of doing it. You know, be it Google Scholar or FindLaw or some other ways to do legal research. And I think that if a young associate comes into the firm and is able to do that type of research efficiently and effectively, I think that's a great asset to a firm.
I would say that law students should know about ALRs. If you find one that's on point, it can make your research pretty much a done deal. I was writing an appellate brief and I found an ALR on point, and it led me to every single case that I used for the entire brief. It saved me so much time. And then another tool I would just say, if you ever plan to do anything with federal regulations, you should be able to navigate into the federal government different websites. They're not that hard to use, but it's good to know what's out there, and it's good to know what sort of information you can get from them.
I think law students should use and be comfortable with every kind of legal research they can be. You never know when you're going to need to look into something that's a little bit non-traditional or a little bit unique, depending what your legal issue is. Sometimes you're in a position where it's not an easy legal argument to make. If it's making it to your desk, it's probably not a quick, easy answer. So you need to be able to think outside the box and come back with the best possible legal argument, which often means looking into some alternative resources other than just the traditional Google, LexisNexis, or Westlaw search.
Yeah, I mean, you have to learn to use Westlaw and Nexus because you don't know what your firm is going to, what contract that they have.
If I was a 1L, knowing what I know now, take your legal writing and research class absolutely serious. It is not a easy course that you can just slough off. It is one of the foundational courses that's going to be of the most benefit to you as an attorney. It is something that you will do every day. Writing, I'm a fourth-year associate. I do contracts. I do a number of other stuff. Writing is always a part of it. But writing, you cannot move on in your legal career. You can't move up the ladder unless you're a good researcher and a good writer. So I would take it serious, focus at it, and constantly get better.
You know, I really think it's important to pay attention when you are learning about the search queries and how to formulate a search query. If you can form an effective one, then you're going to be saving yourself a lot of time.
I think the biggest tip I could give probably is that research, it's a skill like any other that you learn in law school, and it's possible to do it wrong. I think a lot of people kind of focus on other skills because they're more tangible maybe. If you're developing on your writing skills, you can actually produce something and show it to somebody and get feedback on it. With research, it can be difficult because two people can get to the same point, but there was a right way and a wrong way to get there. And if you go the wrong way, you may miss something, or you may simply just take far too long.
Do what you can to develop your writing skills. If you have difficulty with punctuation, with grammar, with those types of things, try to learn those things over the next few years.
When I started out in Lauren skills with learning how to research, it was very important to me to learn as much as I could about the sources available to me at the get-go.
What I would say to 1Ls is to do the projects that you're assigned, because they're so difficult, some of them, but they're invaluable. And as somebody who helped design some of Ann Bateson's projects, they're incredibly difficult to design, but the purpose is really worthwhile. So if you can just do the projects and recognize when you're failing and then ask for help, that's like the most important thing, because you're not going to learn by just attending class or just writing the paper or just taking the test.
Put your heart and soul into your legal research and legal writing classes. Prioritize and put the time in. Take your whole first year seriously.
This piece of advice I could give a new law student in terms of research and legal writing is just don't be overwhelmed. The more time that you spend thinking like a lawyer and getting used to the legal terms, the easier it will become.
I would give advice to students to take legal research seriously. I know when I started law school, I didn't necessarily think that it was going to play such an active and large role in my career, but it is something that I use on a daily basis still to this day, looking up statutes, regulations, case law. So take it seriously and learn the effective ways of doing legal research, because it's going to be important in your career.